Welcome to Discover Las Vegas. I'm super excited for this episode to kick off our Black History Month edition. I am one of your co-hosts, Priscilla Scott, Recreation Coordinator for the City of Las Vegas, with my co-host here,
Philip Payne, Recreation Leader, also with the City of Las Vegas.
And today we're super excited to be joined by Mr. Willie Henderson, also with the City of Las Vegas. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for joining us, Willie. We're super excited for this episode. We're also really excited to share some of the great things that the City of Las Vegas has in store for Black History Month. But before we get to that, tell us about yourself.
Okay, once again, my name is Willie Henderson. I've been working for the city. In March, it would be 11 years. So I've been excited with the opportunity to work for the city. I've done different things. I've worked with the customer service committee. I have done things with the Black History Committee, Corporate Challenge, and just doing events around the city of Las Vegas.
You're definitely an event person.
Yes.
You are so inviting. You have such a friendly face. I've known that to be true for
that.
years. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you always have a smile. Oh, that's so nice. So the customer service definitely suits you very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, an event.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
11 years.
Yes.
Would you start with the city when you were 9?
I can honestly say I started with the city of Las Vegas at the age of 35. I started late. I wish I would have started maybe 25 at the latest. But yeah, 35.
Wow. What was your entry point into the city of Las Vegas?
Customer service representative. So that was kind of like I look at it as an entry level position. Well, I'm lying to you now that I think about it. I started, I don't know what year it was, but I was working for SafeKey. So I was working for the city part-time and the county part-time. So they were doing layoffs with the county, so I got let go with the county. So started working. I continued to stay with the city. So eventually I'm like, I'm a grown man with grown man bills, so I need a full-time position. So I left the city, once again in SafeKey, and I got a full-time position at Sprint. So 5 years into that, still was trying to do what I needed to do to get in the city as far as full time. So that's what I did. Applied for the city. My cousin told me about a customer service position, put that application in, did what I needed to do, and then a year later, they ended up calling me. So ever since then, I've been with the city.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you started out with SafeKey. That's definitely a huge component of the city. SafeKey, camps, all of that.
And what's interesting is the supervisor I have now is the supervisor I had then. So David Lund, which was my supervisor at SafeKey, because I was at West Middle School. So Dave would come every week or every month, to check on us to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. And then when I got the opportunity, I did the interview for customer service rep, and I'm like, oh, wait, I remember you. So it was one of those opportunities. I think, I believe it was Rachel. I know it was Tammy and Dave who was on the interview panel, and then went from there.
They always say you never know where life is going to lead you, or where somebody's always coming back full circle when you look years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how life comes full circle like that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm big on. You got to be mindful how you treat people, because you just never know when you may very well need someone, or you may see someone in that position or in a certain role, and it's like, wait, oh, yeah, they can put your name out there.
Don't burn them bridges and try to come back across.
Yeah, because I really, truly believe, because I worked for Dave prior, that I really feel like that had a reason. That's how I got my opportunity, in a sense. And, of course, your skills, but, I know that had something to do with it as well.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool, too, for us that are working in the government setting.
Yeah.
Because with civil service laws and everything, taking it back for our communities, those of us who come from underrepresented communities, we tend to do very well in government environments because it levels the playing field when you go through the civil service and the testing process. So years ago, when a lot of the equal rights campaigns were going on, like government was one of the only places for underrepresented communities to thrive
Yeah.
because of the entire process to go through testing, to be placed on a qualifications list, an eligibility list, and then to interview once you'd gone through all that, it filtered
Yes.
out that good old boys club
Yeah.
system that tends to happen more in the private sector than it does in the public sector. So that's really cool. And for all of us as minorities now, to get the opportunity to sit today and kind of reflect on Black History Month and a lot of the activities is a really, really, really cool opportunity.
Yeah, and for me, I look at it as I was thankful enough that Cassandra Lewis, who is over the Black History Committee, she seen something in me with knowing, with me doing events, talking to me or whatever. So she gave me the opportunity to do a Black History event. So the last 9, 10 years, I've actually been doing my own event with the Black History Committee. So that's actually great.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the Black History Month committee?
Okay, so the Black History Committee, it's normally about a good 10 of us. So we meet periodically to just discuss what ideas do you like? Is there anything that you see that's lacking in the community? Is there anything that you want to bring to the table that you feel like would benefit, the city and the community? So what it is more so you come up with an idea, if it's a great idea, or if it's something that can possibly be revamped or in some form way, then what they'll do is like say, hey, let's have this idea and just go from there. There's some ideas that we had that didn't work. There's some that did work. So it's more so it's just us coming together, thinking of ideas, and then just kind of go from there for the most part.
So you have you been on the Black History Month committee like all 11 years, or has it been more like the last 9, 10? Like how long have you yourself been involved with the committee?
Well, for me, literally a year after I started is when I was able to be presented with that opportunity. So, March, like I said, I'll be here 11 years. So, roughly, I would say 9 years, because literally a year after I started is when, I was a part of the committee.
Okay. What inspired you to join the committee?
One thing a lot of people know about me, once you get to know me, is like I just love throwing events. That's just what I love doing. I feel like it's something that keeps me busy, something that keeps me going. It's just I believe in doing stuff for the community, even outside of the being in the Parks and Recs department. It's just giving the people something to do. Because I know a lot of times it was said, oh, there's nothing for us to do. There's nothing for us to do in the community. No, it's something to do. Is it something that you may want to do? And say this event may not be your type of event, but this event may be your type of event. So to me, it's almost like we as a community or we as people, you don't necessarily have an excuse. You say we need something, we're trying to give you something to do, so now you just need to go out and do it. So for me, I try to do stuff for kids, I try to do stuff for adults. Once again, I try to do something for some of everybody. Kind of what you mentioned earlier with the minorities, Cassandra is even one of those people saying that you don't have to be African American or anything like that to be a part of the Black History Committee. If you want to be a part of it and you feel like you can bring something to the table, go for it. Let's see how it works and let's make it happen. So that's the good thing about it.
Cassandra was one of the first supervisors that I had when I was in my previous role as rec leader. And I remember like watching her oversee the Black History Month committee, like, oh my gosh, because she would just drag so many different people into it. Like she is very passionate about just
Definitely.
building a community in general. So I do have memories of some of my early days and watching her work. And she is just very good at not just building the community piece, but making everybody like get in where they fit in, right? So if she recognizes that you have a talent, you can bet that she's calling you when she needs something that's in that realm.
And that's really mainly what happened. And then she knew she had a plan. She said, in a few years, I'm retiring. So what she wanted to do was, of course, make sure she built a great committee to, once she's gone, which a lot of people are that way, right? Like when you retire, when you're gone, it's like, how can this still continues to grow? Like, how can this continues, she want to make sure that it's still
Yeah, it's her
successful.
legacy.
So, yeah, and then 45 years later, we're still here doing what we're supposed to do. So that's the great thing about
She's
it.
great at that. So we do a Ward 5 community appreciation that was Cassandra's actual like event.
Really.
And before Becker was built, because Becker sits in Ward 5, she's like, oh, you know what? I'm retiring. In 2 years. I need someone to take this over. And she isn't one of those people. Sometimes, people are afraid to let go of things because they're afraid of it not working as well or relinquishing control. She does not have any ego for that. And I remember when she brought our team in, at first it was me because we were under construction. And then now with Philip and Jasmine on our team here, like Cassandra was like, oh no, you guys are going to take it over. And just like, nope, whatever you want to do. And she knows, what her retirement date is, but to start working with us a few years in advance so that it wasn't something that was just like, thrown together last minute. She's good about maintaining that legacy.
Yeah. And like I said, especially if you bring something to her, like I had an idea. It was something that I used to do years back before with my church, and then I thought it would be good to do it for the city. So it's more so like a talent show, but it's something that works with the youth or young adults or whatnot. So for me, I didn't want anything that was just kind of just cute. I wanted something to where if you felt like you was a singer and you was passionate about singing, go for it. If you felt like you were great with spoken word, poems, rap, go for it. Let's do it. I'll give you a chance too. Of course, within means of making sure you're going off of our policies and procedures or whatnot. But I'm like, let's go for it. So I brought it to her attention. We did it, and once again, for about 10 years, I've been doing that event. It was very successful. I just had the event on February 3rd. So I was excited about that. So I'll be here to do it again next year and kind of go from there.
Before you tell us about that event, can you just, you don't have to go into detail for all the things, but just the variety of events that the Black History Month Committee has hosted throughout, as far as you can remember.
And then you got to give us a favorite.
Yes.
You for sure got to give us a favorite. That's a long time.
If we say favorite, I'm gonna give you my event.
That's
so
cool. I'm good with that.
I don't know about that. I know in the past, like we've had generations to generations softball, so we've definitely done that. We did like a midday inspirational showcase. We did, like I said, a talent show. We had something with the kids where we did essay contest. We did something where events where it was like for Peace Week. So we've had like all kinds of different concepts and ideas. We've also done something where it's a movie night in the movie at the pool, to where you watch some type of African American movie and then just go that route. So we've had like several different types of things. Some were successful, some wasn't. So and like I said, I've been thankful enough to where my event has been pretty successful. So it's been working out to where we kept doing it. Even when we dealt with COVID, I always had it at the West Las Vegas Theater. What we did is I was like, okay, let's move it outside. So since then, it's been at the Sammy Davis Jr. Festival Plaza.
I love that venue.
Me too.
I love that venue. Have you been out there?
Hadn't even heard of it beforehand.
I lived around the corner for like my
that's
whole
right.
life. So I we used to cut through there walking home sometimes. So it's now you realize like the multi uses that it has. And I've been to a couple of events there. It's insane to see.
Yeah.
It's like real intimate.
And it's interesting to me because prior to working for the city, there are certain places or certain things that I didn't even know, like the pool. I never heard of the pool, but then there's a lot of people who would always say Dula Pool. I'm like, no, it's not Dula Pool. It's Municipal Pool. But like I have my brothers and family members, they always went to Dula. So prior to me working here, I'm like, I didn't know where this stuff was at. So and Sammy Davis Jr. was another place I've never been to.
I'm not going to tell you why we used to travel there sometimes in high school, but I definitely am familiar.
So going back to Phil's question, though, other than your event,
Yes.
what has been your favorite event?
Other Other than my event, since you want to put it that way, I would say the midday inspirational showcase. So with that one, that's one of Cassandra Lewis's event, to where she bring the seniors with the youth, and then she combined them and she put them together. So what it is, it's more so like inspirational. So what I mean by that is, of course, just say even if you're not a church goer, it's one of those where it's supposed to uplift you, encourage you. So like she'll have a motivational speaker, she'll have someone who sing a song, she'll have like a praise dance, a mime dance. So it's more so just inspirational. And then after that, it's kind of like a soul food for the soul type thing. So what happens after the event, which is mainly only like an hour, then we basically go into wherever it's going to be at. She's had it at Fifth Street School. She's had it at Doolittle Community Center, to where we'll go in there and basically just eat. So then we'll, of course, enjoy that. Then some of the seniors will do a live dance. Not live dance, I'm sorry. They'll do a line dance. They'll also do, she'll have like some type of band the seniors will play. The kids will do something. So she normally just have like a variety of things for everyone to do. So I love that, because that's a lot of things that helps out it's certain things that helps out the community. And then you have political people who will come out and speak or whatever, and it's not just necessarily encouraging you to vote. It's more so just saying, hey, I'm here, I'm showing my presence, just more so doing stuff with them, because they give so much to the community and to that area. So she does that too.
That's a pretty cool event.
Yeah, I love it. I've been working with her on that one for about 10 years as well, and it's really successful. A lot of people come out for that event.
Well, and I know that you talked about so in the African American community in particular, even though the Black History Month events are not faith based, right? They're open to anybody.
Correct.
Spirituality is a big component of the African American community.
Correct.
And so it makes perfect sense to have like an inspirational showcase.
Well, and even when I do my event, I do the same thing. I give you a variety. So, I definitely touch on the inspirational stuff, and then I definitely touch on just regular day to day life things. There's sometimes that the youth is dealing with certain things. We'll kind of try to touch on that too when we do the event. So it's just more so, if you're not a churchgoer, or if you're not have that strong faith, it's just like, okay, you don't have to, that's just a snippet of what we do. We have other things. Once again, like I touched on, spoken word, you got rap, so it's more so catering to everybody, not just one demographic and not just one person, because I've had other, other races come out and support, and other races to be a part of the program. So just because you say Black history, or you say, we try to go away from that stigma of it just have to be Black people or African Americans. No, it's not that case. We can be inclusive to everybody, but it's just more so that's
The
who
historical
is
piece.
exactly. Yeah.
Tell us about your event.
So I just recently had an event, which was on February 3rd, which was at the Sammy Davis Jr. Festival that I was just telling you about. We had some amazing singers, dancers. We had some cheer teams. We had drill teams. So it's more so one of that. We also have a DJ. So it's more so giving you something to do. We have food trucks. A lady who loved coming every year, Kona Ice. So we have those people that come out. We have normally like raffles. We had like contests, like a singing contest, dancing contest. So it's more so just to make sure that the people are getting engaged. And then we definitely love to have a crowd participation game, because just in case, kind of break up the monotony of like some of the stuff is going on. So it's like, hey, let's have a sing off. Let's have a dance off. So, and that's something that the kids definitely love doing that. So we gave them a raffle. We gave them prizes for that. And that was it. I loved it.
So what's the name of your event?
So it started off as Night of Expressions, and the purpose of that, because it was at night. So then when we touched on the whole COVID situation, we still had it to stay Night of Expressions, but we started it off as like a day of festivities. So it's kind of like still sticking with Night of Expressions, but you can also look at it as not necessarily night as in nighttime, but it's just like a day where we're just coming together and then you're just showcasing your talent.
What's the significance of the name?
It was just something that, shoot, we came up with about maybe 15, 20 years ago at the church, because it was more so behind like drama field, like was trying to bring certain things in regards to that, skits, little short plays, things in that nature. And then it just stuck with us, and then we just kind of kept it from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite component of Night of Expressions?
That's kind of tough, because I would say one of my favorite, I'm big on faith, like we touched on, and the spirituality of it. So for me, it's just uplifting and encouraging someone. So I feel like if I can uplift you and encourage you, I have to make sure for me that I add that as a component. So I try to make sure I take that everywhere I go with certain things or when I'm doing certain events. Even though you didn't necessarily ask this, I guess the second point is I believe in a team, and I feel like I cannot do this stuff on my own. So it takes your strong team. It takes people of course, to genuinely love you or like you, to want to support you. So for me, I look at it as the supporting aspect of it, because a lot of times people don't have to support you and they don't have to be a part of your team. And then I don't necessarily have to come out and seek you. You're coming to me and say, I want to do something for the community. I want to do something for the people, or I want to help you out because I see what you're doing. So that I'm kind of torn between those two.
That's a big
Yeah.
component of it.
Yeah.
Huge component.
It's very important. I was definitely about to say that, because I always say we cannot do. A lot of times we may take the credit, or people see you as your event, but ideally, you can't do it on your own. Where it comes to organizing, planning it, directing it, producing it, or whatever the case may be. So it's like, yeah, and it's that admin that goes with it as well, the admin side of it, where how do you got to look for a venue as well. So a lot of those things are very important.
Yeah. Philip is probably going to be like, here she go again. But I always say I'm talent management, because I don't know what I would do without my team.
Yes.
Like, literally, all the time, I'm like, okay, so what do you want here? What do you want there? Like, it's
Yeah.
not, and especially with Becker coming online, everybody sees me at the forefront of it, because I am, the leader of the pack,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, but legit, they work so hard, and some of the areas of expertise that they oversee, like, there's no way. Like, that's just not my background. That's not I'm in people management and facility management. They're all the talent. And so I even, with our behind the scenes crew, I won't put them on the spot, but even when I'm touring other facilities and everything, I'm always like, oh my gosh, Bree would love this, or KP would love this, or, oh, I need to tell Phil about this. Because their brains work so differently, and they they got it down.
Yeah. And that's
And
why
you're
it's
only as strong
important.
as your team.
Yeah, and then that's why I believe in building a rapport, a friendship, and that's how I met a lot of my friends, and how we've created a great bond, because they'll tell you like, Willie always have me doing something, or I'm always doing something, or I'm pushing them out of their comfort zone, or things they didn't think that they would do. Now they're doing, and it kind of just goes from there. So I'm with you.
Yeah. So talking about comfort zone, has there been a situation, not even necessarily Black History Month, right? But just that has forced you out of your comfort zone, that now you're like, I'm glad I went through that?
Yes, public speaking.
Mm.
I hate it.
Really?
I dislike it. Because of the fact that I get nervous, I get paranoid. I'm like, people are paying attention to what you're doing, what you're saying. And then by me doing events, believe it or not, and sometimes people say, oh, with your personality or whatever. Like, no, I can tell you, even if we're just doing stuff together and we're just playing games, I'm still nervous about playing a game, because you might say to me, if we're doing gestures, well, why you didn't do this? Well, why you didn't do that? Well, I didn't do it because I didn't think of it. If I would have thought about it, I would have done it. So it's just those things. So this is the podcast because I could have said no, but I'm like, this is forcing me to do something. Even at the end of the event, my friends are pushing me to speak at the end because once again, it's just getting that public speaking out. When I have to do stuff with my hourly staff, we have to have a customer service training. So I have to be the one to conduct the training. So even though I've been doing this stuff for years, believe it or not, it still hasn't changed. I still don't like public speaking, but I push myself and I force myself to do it because I know technically that's what you have to do because the people need to see who put on this event, who organized and set all of this up. So
Well, and who better to push an event or an activity or anything than like the person whose heart and soul is in it?
I agree. And the heart is there, the passion is there. I just don't like the speaking aspect of it. So there's certain things you're not gonna like, but you just gotta push past it, and that's what I do.
What about you?
I'd probably say I'm with you with the public speaking. Like, I mean, because people don't take into account, like, just because you are outgoing, et cetera, that, that it's still not a struggle to be able to, think of what you were trying to say and
Yeah, I agree.
regurgitate it in a way that, you feel like other people understand. So for sure, I think the public speaking is a big.
So I knew that about you because I know you well. But with you in particular, like you're tall and generally like tall people are like people gravitate towards like following, right? They're natural leaders. The height and the stature has a lot to do with it. Like throughout your football career, you've always been in like very prominent roles. You've been on ESPN. You've had to do like so many interviews and stuff. So knowing you behind the scenes and knowing like that's something that you don't like is always shocking to me because you do it well. Like you're well spoken and yes. So that I knew that about you, but especially the roles that you've been in, it's like you're always having to do public speaking.
That being in the forefront ain't always a, comfortable thing for sure because especially, I mean, in college, I got in trouble for saying some stuff that I shouldn't have said. You know what I'm saying? I got in trouble for, not voicing my opinion in a manner or a place that should have been a conversation elsewhere. So it's like even just like right now, right? I'm good with doing the public speaking, but it's just like it's a constant churn of like, analyzing the situation. Like, what am I saying this the right way? Am I giving the right information out? And then especially nowadays, you got to be a real weary of, even how you place things because of how offensive it could be to other people, even though you don't even understand that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a constant learning experience. But what I have learned from it for sure is to not fluff it. I mean, get to what you were trying to say and get up out of there.
Philip is good for the not fluffing it and just saying it, pulling it out and putting it out there. So that's pretty good with, the way that you communicate.
That's what I get myself into trouble. I'd be trying to make it, sound nice or extend it when you don't need to. You know what I'm saying? That just causes more thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think culture has anything to do with that?
I mean, growing up in wouldn't say racially, but I mean, for sure growing up in a football culture where, you were I was at the top of my game at that point. So you were constantly being, monitored. You're constantly being, taught that what you say matters. You're constantly taught that, how people could possibly take what you say or what you do and twist it into a whole narrative that ain't even what you're, trying to illustrate. So I for sure believe that's I definitely learned from, being in sports and playing sports at such a high level. But I mean, racially at home, I'm biracial, so I'm black and Filipino, and on both ends, my Filipino side of the family and my black side of the family do not like to talk about their stuff, talk about their problems, et cetera, so it's more everything's more handled in like within or your
Internalized.
exactly.
And that could be the case because I didn't even think about that until you said that. Because I was say I don't think it's a black thing or anything. I just think some people you just whatever reason you just don't like public speaking. And then I agree with you too, where it goes back to you have to watch what you say and or people will turn things around. And I've said this before. Sometimes you could mean well and try to do good by what you say or whatever, and you still may have that negative person or that person who will misconstrue it into something totally different. So, but that's kind of how I feel on that. That makes sense too.
And
Yeah.
that's crazy because that's, one piece of the puzzle because even though you might offend somebody or something, you might have moved a mountain for another person. So then it's like, what do you take into account? The mountain you moved for the other person or the one person or a couple of people that you offended with
Yeah.
what you're trying to illustrate. So it's just a lot with everything, Confidence, being able to speak is you fail to realize that there's a lot of aspects even just to public speaking or even just trying to
Communicating in general.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
This is coming from a communication major. So it's
I
like
believe I do pretty good with communication in a sense. I think for me, it's like when you're putting me on the spot, when you're taking me out of that comfort zone of something that I don't know what you're going to ask. And if you ask that question, can I articulate it? Going back, say, interviews, you know, I just do not interview well. And then I think it's one of those, there's certain questions that they ask. Like,
You didn't used to interview well
I-
because you're
yeah,
great at interviewing now.
I will definitely say a lot better. It's just more so getting your point across. And then I feel like sometimes I'm long winded. So then I got to reel it in. And I don't want to do that in interviews. But in interviews, that's kind of the time where you should be talking too much and like selling yourself. So I don't remember certain key points. I didn't remember certain key points in the interviews that I remember now.
same.
Yeah.
Very same. Shoot, I had to get help from people in HR. Crystal helped me out. Shout out to Crystal Harry.
Yeah.
She definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
she definitely helped me out with my interview skills because it's just that more confidence thing, right? Because if I'm talking to a kid and we trying to, help him grow, et cetera, especially in a let's say an athletic perspective, I can regurgitate information and be able to circle the mountain for him or her. But in the interview, it's just hard to talk about yourself. You know what I'm saying? You feel like one, are you, being boastful? But secondly, you know what I'm saying? That's what you're there for. You're there to showcase exactly why you were the person for the job. You are, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a lot sometimes, for sure.
Well, and the ability to, like, as you progress, right? It's always as a result of growth, right? Because believe it or not, I know that I can talk my way out of a paper bag. I have the gift of gab, as Philip says all the time to me, but I used to get like nervous speaking and like breathe fast and stumble over my words. And English is not my first language, which most people are like, really? You don't have an accent? But so sometimes I get stuck on words or in my brain, like it gets kind of twisted with languages. Obviously, English is my dominant language and the one that I use the most. But having that not been my first one, there are times where I'll get stuck. But as I've been in situations where I've had to communicate more and more and more over the years, now you can say I have the gift of gab because yes, I do have that gift. But even for all of you guys, and I'll share this with you, Willie, I've seen you grow in interviews and I've sat on panels to where within a year, to watch your growth was the most impressive. Like I've told so many people that because that was probably the most impactful for me.
Yeah.
Was watching your growth from when I was on an interview panel and then a year later, I was on a completely different panel and it was a different Willie that walked in the door. And I was like, oh my word, like the growth.
Yeah.
and to see like, and it wasn't just, oh, okay, he learned how to talk. No, because you always knew how to speak. It was more so that you grew in your career, so your ability to communicate that was easier for you.
I agree. I appreciate that. I appreciate. Thank you. Thank you.
I do. I tell everybody, and even probably people you don't even know,
Mhm.
because I'm like, no, like to that year. And it was for different positions. I don't even remember what the positions were anymore, but I do just remember, like, even your swag when you walked in was different. Like, you just carried yourself differently.
Thank you.
Willie's like,
Oh,
stop.
but yeah, stop.
He's
Stop.
blushing.
He
I
been at it
appreciate
since
that.
he was 9.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate that. And and a lot of times people don't see this stuff behind the scenes. So to see when you're going in, like, you almost about to panic, or like you feel like you don't have a panic attack or something, because it's like you're trying to impress people who are already sitting there. And then I even learned in the interviews, just because I know you, I still need to communicate and say what my skills are or what I'm really good at. But sometimes we feel, oh, Priscilla know me, Cassandra know me. Oh, I don't have to know. You still have to say that, because also the other people. I remember one interview panel, Kenny was on, and he was like, oh, I didn't even know you did this event. Oh, I didn't even know you did that. So that's when I've learned really, like, it is important for you to communicate that with them. And it goes back to public speaking. So, yeah.
So I always like to ask our guests. So Phil runs our mentorship group. We have over 120 community youth in that program, and it's grant funded. It's a phenomenal program. Sometimes it stretches us thin. It can be a little bit emotionally daunting, but I always like to ask, when you consider Black and brown communities and just teens that are, struggling with, am I a kid or am I a young adult, and trying to navigate life along with the challenges of coming from an underserved community, like, what advice would you give to a teenager now, looking back from where you are today?
Um, I think for me is like keep pushing and keep growing. It's one of those things where a lot of times you may not been in the best environment. But I feel like once you get to a certain point in your life or a certain age, your parents or whoever probably didn't teach you this. You probably seen certain things in your environment that hopefully it could show you, like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the product of my environment. I do want more out of life. And unfortunately, some people do not get that, because they're okay with, this is what they're used to, this is what they see. So hopefully, by you going to different community centers, being surrounded by certain people, that can make you grow and want to become a better person. So I think that's why for me, community stuff or community involvement is so important. So that would be my thing, is to get that teen or that youth to be a part of different programs, whether it's sports, whether it's acting, arts or whatnot, because that's how you can showcase that. And then you're constantly around positive people or people who are doing something for themselves. And then hopefully they're putting something in you or instilling something to where it's like, you know what, I want to do that. I want to become that. Or not even if to be a coordinator or a rec leader or whatever, a coach. I just want more out of life, whatever that might be. So yeah, we may not have been taught certain things, but at a certain point, hopefully you can get to that point to where you can be that person.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that message is huge because, I mean, as a person that internalizes things and, essentially tries to figure everything out on their own, you bring in a kid or a youth, that, and you let them know that, there are people here to help you figure it out. You don't have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, because I know sometimes I've seen, once again, when I worked at Safekey, it was a little boy, he's like never had his hair seen, it's never combed, brushed, snotty nose all the time. And I'm like, oh, dang, and he was this bad kid. Oh my gosh, he was so bad. But I loved how when he got around me, it was like Mr. Willie, like he was so nice. He was just like so upbeat. but he wasn't having certain things at home. But I'm like, you think about that with kids is like, how can you encourage them? Like, how can you have them to strive for greatness when that's not what they see? So I think for me, it's just very important to um, to continue to talk to them and be surrounded by them, and then hopefully just watching what you do, that will make them grow and become a better person because they're not seeing certain things at home. So
That's a big component. So in our mentorship program, and it like this is what stuck for me. Um, you know, a lot of times we see with our young men that there's no one teaching them how to care for their hair.
yeah,
And for a while, Philip was paying out of pocket to get the kids haircuts. And it was just something that you don't realize what an impact something as simple as a haircut makes
oh yeah,
with a child, and
definitely,
like
yeah,
making sure that their face is like washed.
yeah,
And, especially for those of us with black and brown skin,
yeah,
it shows up a little bit more than it does on people that are a little bit more fair skinned. But it's a big deal. Now we have a partnership where our kids can get free haircuts routinely. So it makes a big difference there. But it goes such a long way. And it's so impactful because I think about like my own child. My child's always like well groomed. He's got a standing appointment. Like it's not anything that you would like. I wouldn't think I would have to be taught, that my son's hair has to be
yeah,
like cared for constantly, and it happens with young ladies too.
yeah,
But we predominantly, because of the nature of our business, deal with young men and boys in the facility. We do have girls, but they're the lower demographic for us. But that's a huge component of it,
yeah.
and it ties into so much.
Yeah, and I think that I do believe in a sense, not saying people wasn't doing it back in the day, but I think we're somewhat headed in the right direction with the right people being in the right positions and right places to make sure some of those things happen. You probably can't take care of all, get 50 people a haircut, but even if you can get a good 5 or a good 3 or whatever the case may be, you're still making a difference in the community. So for me, it's just the importance of community service, community centers, and then people who having a heart for the community. So I think when you have a heart, and then we're touching on mental health now, and that's starting to become a big thing now. So it's just those things that I think, once again, how we help the community and have hopefully little boys and girls growing and wanting more out of life.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I have one final question. Do you have anything before I ask my final question?
I mean, just to piggyback on, the haircut thing, confidence is a direct correlation to success in anything,
Yeah.
right? So even just being able to teach them type of lessons on, being able to present yourself in a way where, I'm saying yourself is comfortable. We live in a world now, right, where social media is the forefront. You are, no matter where you are at within time and space, you can be seen from anybody at any point at any time across the world.
Yeah.
That's scary when you really think about it, right? So then to be able to, instill those tools within the community centers or within these helpful programs to be able to give those people that confidence that to navigate a world like that is huge.
I think comfort is
huge.
important. Get that haircut. So much.
Yeah.
You nothing. So yeah.
So, what for you is the significance of Black History Month?
The significance. Oh, why would you do this to me, Priscilla? Well, and that's kind of a tricky question for me because you said for me, I feel like we can celebrate Black history all year long. It doesn't have to be just February. And I remember Cassandra said that to me in regards to an event that I wanted to do. And she was like, it just does not have to be in Black history. So I don't know, Priscilla, that's kind of tricky because I think we focus on February, but we should be able to celebrate us or celebrate who we are as a people 365 days a year. Like, I mean, we're a big deal. Like we're like important. Like we've done so many things in the community as Black people, to where I'm like, we just celebrate it all year long. So I can't really. Ooh,
That's a great
yeah.
answer.
That's a little tricky for me.
We love having you with us, Willie. I really want to say thank you on behalf of the whole Becker Tech team.
I enjoyed this.
Discover Las Vegas,
Yeah.
because this is what it's all about: building community, building awareness, making sure that everybody knows all of the great and wonderful things that the city of Las Vegas has to offer. But honestly, if it wasn't for the time and the dedication of the whole committee and the support from the department and city staff and community partners and
Yeah.
outside vendors, like the legacy wouldn't continue. So really, really appreciate you.
Yeah, my thing, one last thing, a little plug. So for all those who's out there, if you want to see about events, we do have at LasVegasNevada.gov, can't even say it right.
/
Yeah, /discover. Yeah, I might have to edit that. Then just to look for other events that we have within the city of Las Vegas. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. I love this. Enjoyed it. That's it. You know, people normally play a little music. You're going to put a little music in the
There is
background, a little
music.
something.
We
Cut it.
just don't hear it.
Yeah.